Hi everyone, my name is Siamak and this is my geosynthetics podcast. As you can see in this episode, I have not one but two guests. And I think you probably know both of them. I introduced Boyd Ramsey. He's joining us from Paris in France today, and Preston Kendall is joining us from the Gold Coast in Australia. Welcome to this podcast, Boyd and Preston.
Thank you, CMAC. Good to
here.
be here.
Thank you. This podcast is slightly different from the normal podcast that I've been putting out, talking about people and careers, and some of the more sort of personal interests of those people that I've interviewed. This episode, we want to talk about a very important topic, and that is why I have both Boyd and Preston joining me in this episode, and that topic is sustainability. And more centered around geosynthetics with sustainability. So let me start with this question initially, because both of you are sitting in a committee within the IGS family that is called Sustainability Committee. So you both are chairs and co-chair this committee. Let me start with asking a question about, maybe just introduce this committee for my audience. What does the committee do, and how it actually basically started, where the idea came from. And I'll come to you, Boyd, first, and then Preston, just to go over a bit of introduction, please.
Sure. The committee is a couple of years old, and it operates within the IGS framework, same as the technical committees, basically. It essentially started as a response to Natalie Tu's address at the Korean ICG in Seoul, where she both demonstrated the things that geosynthetics contribute to sustainability, which is quite a bit, but also challenged us to do better and more. So the Sustainability Committee is a pretty impressive group of people. In the webinar, we'll go over the exact listing and show everybody's name, but we've got people from, Korea, Germany, Italy, South Africa, the United States, Australia, of course, with Preston. And I feel very proud to be part of that group and helping to lead that group.
Very good. Preston?
Yeah, so that's a good introduction from Boyd. I guess I would just add that while some of the not initially envisioned, some of the activities that I suppose we've unfortunately had to get involved with is also some misunderstandings and some misinformation on certain topics around the use of geosynthetics and the results of geosynthetic products. So that's something where we also get involved.
Yeah, perfect. Very good. So I think the question that comes to mind is, we keep hearing about sustainability, and I think, for a lot of people, this is a very important topic. They try to do things in their normal life and in their professional life to sort of, make sure that their activities, their lives, and their career, their professional work is sustainable. But I want to ask Boyd initially, why do you think it is important? Where is the importance and where does that come from?
Well, CMAC, this is one of the problems that I personally, and I think everybody struggles with, is the sustainability issue is a long-term issue. If I go out and perform unsustainable behaviors tomorrow, the world's not going to be a different place, 24 hours later. But if we continue to do that day in and day out, week after week, year after year, it's a catastrophic problem. We've got 8 billion people on the planet. We can barely feed what we have. And if you pay attention, we're arriving at things like water shortages and food shortages, all of the issues related to climate, global warming, and excessive weather all tie into this. So it's a little frustrating because it's a very important issue, but it's not something where you're going to do something that has immediate consequences. And as as humans, we don't think very well that way. I read a book called If Nietzsche Were a Narwhal, and he talks about what he calls prognostic myopia. You know, we're humans, we have a problem, we want to fix it, and we fix it and maybe not consider the long-term consequences of that fix. So as engineers and technical people, we need to both do that and support society in their changes to do that. Sorry, a little long-winded there.
Yeah, no, great. And Preston, do you want to add anything to that? Maybe in terms of the importance more in like, you know, engineering world and, you know, problem solving as Boyd described?
Yeah, well, I guess I think yeah, I guess you one motivation. I mean, it's a little bit of a cliche, but you want to kind of be the change that you want to see, and I see geosynthetics as really heroically sustainable material, and the uses you see it, the areas you see it being used with around the world are really inspiring. This could be from you know, making renewable energy sources work and work better, to just using the limited resources we have in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, that's right. That's really good. So another topic that has been basically discussed quite frequently in the past few years in conferences and seminars, and also like in some of the journals and papers, is the issue of microplastics. So generally, anything made out of, like, you know, let's say, use the generic word of plastics, is somehow a suspect of creating microplastics. So can you, Boyd, maybe just introduce this problem a little bit more detailed for us and for my audience, and also, you know, what from the sustainability point of view, and specifically the committee that we have as part of the Geosynthetic Society, what is your opinion about it, and what we can tell the industry or the public as well about microplastics and geosynthetics?
Well, I'm going to let Preston handle the bulk of this question. I'll just start with the facts that the IGS has a sustainability statement that the council has approved. With it come a set of frequently asked questions and references to support the document. But I'll let Preston talk about the committee's experience with this and what we've done.
Yeah, so I think the meat of the statement on microplastics from the IGS is really that among the abundance of studies on this subject, none of them show microplastics to be or show geosynthetics to be a significant source of microplastics. And this is sort of, from my point of view, this is understandable. You know, the geosynthetics are sort of, I would kind of describe as a utility maximalism type application. We are extracting so much use from geosynthetics, and sometimes that might be for hundreds of years. And so typically they'll be buried, but they'll be constantly providing that function. And so that's why it's, you know, geosynthetics are really in a special category of materials where, you know, they're used for engineering purposes, and the engineers want to extract utility from the material. It's not like, you know, so something might be fashionable and it goes out of fashion and then you dispose of it, or you dispose of it long before it's, you know, full useful life. So I think that's what makes geosynthetics so special, and why once you understand the materials, it's very clear that they are not going to be a significant source of microplastics.
Yeah, sure. And I think two things that both of you somehow referred to. One is the webinar that Boyd, you referred to. So basically, Australian Geosynthetic Society, or the chapter here, has arranged a few different webinars and in person, even the roadshow we did last year with yourself, Boyd, and also Preston, around the country. So the webinar you mentioned, I want you to maybe, if you want to announce or just promote that as well. And the second one is the statement by IGS that I'll get the link and put it in the post when I send this episode out. So about the webinar, Boyd.
Sure. I think the best way to connect to the webinar is going to be a link off the ASICS website. We hope to rebroadcast this around the world, but Australia is leading the way here. So cheers, Australia. But the webinar is going to be recorded first week of February, so it should be available shortly after that. And as I said, a link on the ASICS website is going to be your easiest way to connect to it.
Yeah, great. And the statement, Preston, that should be on the IGS website, and we can access there.
Yeah, so you can find everything we put out. There's a sort of running resource on the IGS website of all of the latest materials related to the Sustainability Committee. We've been doing a lot of what we call Did You Knows, which are really great for getting out on the various social media platforms and just making more of the general public aware about what geosynthetics are and how they are a positive impact on sustainability. So I would just suggest find the sustainability tab on the International Geosynthetic Society website.
Yeah,
and the good news is we've made that public to everybody. You don't have to log in and register and do all that. You can just go and click.
Yeah, great. That's very good. So as the final question for both of you, we talked about the committee under IGS and some of the activities. We somehow touched on a few of them with the Australian chapter and everywhere else. Do you want to talk about some of these activities that you've done so far or in the past, and as well, I want to ask you about some of the future initiatives, future activities. And finally, if anyone in our audience is listening or watching this today and has the same, motivation to come and help, get involved and engage with this committee, how they can do it.
Preston, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll touch on some of the activities that we have gotten involved with in the past year. And Boyd, I'll let you talk about some of the future activities to expect, if you like. One of the activities, I think that's kind of a highlight in particular because it did get a lot of attention on LinkedIn and other social media areas, is our response to the European Commission, which brought up the subject of microplastics. And you can find that documentation and that formal response on our website. So that was really an impactful thing that we were able to put together. And it contains a lot of interesting and useful factual information as well. And then Boyd, maybe you want to touch on some of if there's any other highlights, I guess you might want to hit on from the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think you gave a good example of us being available to represent the industry to government. These problems that we're talking about with sustainability are big issues. They're not going to get solved solely by individual activities. It's going to take our collective governmental action to help fix these things. And the IGS wants to be available as a resource and an established resource. When you have knowledge, people come to you looking for it, and that's part of what the Sustainability Committee wants to accomplish. So we want to continue that in the future. We're working on a geosynthetic benefits calculator, something to provide numbers to engineers. A lot of companies and projects are now requiring environmental impact statements called various things throughout the world. So this would provide that information in a usable format, so people could do comparison between, if I do it the old way, this is the environmental impact, but if I use this geosynthetic thing, it's much less, and these are the numerical benefits. So that's one of the big things. And to answer your question on participation, we would welcome participation. You know, we got a good group of people, but as Preston mentioned, we try to publicize things for both the general public and the engineers. So that we need content, and we need people to help us create that content. You can go to the IGS website and click on Become a Member. There's a link again on the sustainability page, or you can contact Elise Oatman, the secretariat of the IGS, and she can hook you up with us. But we'd be happy to have you.
Great. Now, that's very good, very informative, and thank you both gentlemen, Boyd Ramsey and Preston Kendall, for joining me today for this special episode of the podcast, and hope everyone enjoyed this conversation as well. So thanks again, and we'll catch up with you in our next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.